Hey guys, what's going on? This is another weekly episode where I'm going to be talking about my inspirations and some of the things it is that are just kind of kicking around in my head right now, things that I'm looking at and that I'm thinking about and that are inspiring me. Because I think it's important that if you're somebody who's a visual storyteller, like a comic artist, like I am, or you're just an artist in general, whether you're a writer, musician, whatever, you always want to be like looking at stuff and trying to pull some different things from it, if you can, and sometimes it really helps to look at stuff that you're not really in any way connected to, right? It'd be easy for me to just look at comic artists and that's it, but I like to look at a lot of different stuff and take inspiration in different areas of life in general. So today I've got this Thai artist who does like these woodcuts and stuff like that. And if I can find this guy's social media, then I'll make sure to connect it in the description box. But this guy was somebody it is that I had seen. I'd seen his work in Chiang Rai. I live in Chiang Mai right now. But this is a guy it is that I saw in Chiang Rai, and uh, you know he does a lot of like the traditional Buddhist stuff, and it's very much about Thai culture, and I really enjoy it. I really think that the way that he draws this stuff is really cool, and I think that I'm going to have to do an episode just on Thai artists in general because the amount of incredibly talented Thai artists that I've come across uh, is just insane. Like there's so much talent in Southeast Asia, and in particular in Thailand. So I guess this is kind of like his process for how he works up to these beautiful Buddhist portraits here, right? So I know that I'm a comic guy, so I will be getting to some comic stuff here in a minute. Um, but yeah, like I love looking at very traditional Asian art like this. There's something about the proportions of it that it feels very classical, you know. And as somebody who is just a draftsman in general, you have to look at something like this and really appreciate the level of finish it is that these guys take. Like this has to be a woodcut, and I mean it just looks awesome, right? Looks like some more stuff. Yeah, I mean, to me, I look at stuff like this, and to me, this means artistic inspiration, right? That's what's going on here. Besides the glare, I apologize for the glare in the paper. But yeah, I see this as this artistic inspiration coming in and touching the life of the artist, and thus it touches everybody else's life, and that's really the idea behind making art, is that whenever you make something. To understand that you're not just trying to sell some sort of a product, right? It's not just about selling something, even though there is a business aspect to it. It's also about you're becoming a conduit for something that is much bigger than you in order for that to come through and to manifest into this realm. And I think you really see that with a lot of the Thai stuff. There's this very direct connection to their culture. It's not um, it's not the same sort of thing as in the West. In the West, it feels much more like entertainment. This feels much more like art that has a purpose. It has a purpose that it is transcendent and it's trying to give something to people rather than just take their time. Something like this. I mean, the like I said, the level of craftsmanship for something like this fish drawing, so cool. I love it. And the same thing with this. This looks like this might be another woodcut. Yeah, this is another woodcut. Very beautiful work. So yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll move on to the next one. But yeah. So this next one is David Lynch, and flipping through his painting book, and I'm just gonna give a minute or two to talk about this guy. I actually don't know how much of David Lynch's work that I actually like, to be completely honest with you. Especially his paintings. You know, I find his paintings to be pretty crude. However, I do appreciate and I am a fan of his commitment to creativity. And even though there is quite a lot of stuff that he does that I'm not really a fan of, in terms of the way that it's drawn, or maybe even the subject matter. You know, this is Dance of Light, which is it's quite an interesting drawing. It looks like a couple of figures dancing on some sort of a platform. My friend Reinstall Paul, he did a whole analysis on Twin Peaks, and um, that gave me a huge renewed appreciation for David Lynch and his work, and his commitment to channeling the muse, right? Like, we'll jump ahead here. I mean, he, even though, like I said, you may look at these drawings and think like, oh, these are very crude, they're really not that interesting. I think that they're interesting in the ideas. The drawings themselves maybe less so than the execution. But what I love about it is that it is not in any way censored. You know, he completely opens up the door to his imagination, and he allows what's going to come out to come out. And so it has this kind of this certain quality to it that I think is pretty interesting. You know, a lot of his stuff is very dark and very haunting, right? So it seems like he's processing a lot of different things. this is this one's quite interesting. Change the fucking channel, fuckface. Um, yeah. Woman with broken neck and electric knife speaks to her husband. Interesting. I mean, this looks like something out of Twin Peaks. So yeah, the Twin Peaks analysis that my friend Reinstall Paul did, I did an interview with him on this YouTube channel, and I'll link that in the description, and I'll also link to his breakdown of Twin Peaks because it's quite awesome. I really enjoy it. Yeah, so I mean, they get more and more interesting as they go along. They become, you know, like they're kind of like these mixed media pieces where he's making these things and then he's gluing them onto surfaces, which I think is cool. You know, like I said, I don't have to be the biggest fan or even want to buy this stuff in order to really appreciate it, right? Because it's just freedom of expression. You know, this one's actually really cool. I really dig this. Yeah, so he just is he's just a creative force, really. You know, uh, he's done film and all sorts of stuff. I think some of these are getting a little too spicy for YouTube, but stuff like that, I mean, that's pretty cool. That's definitely really cool stuff. So some of the other inspirations, I'll just run through them real quick. These are some books, and you know, I haven't finished all of these to be honest with you, but these are some things that are inspiring me, um, and have inspired me overall in my life. Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo, this is a collection of his drawings, and you know, I find his stuff to be hugely inspiring to me. I'll put a link in the description box for this book, but I find it to be a huge inspiration to me that this guy did as much as he did. And he's always been a big inspiration to me. You know, he's somebody who we know him iconically as, you know, the Vitruvian Man. We know him as the painter of the Mona Lisa, but we don't know him as the anatomist, you know, the person who basically cut open bodies and tried to study them not just for artistic purposes, but he did it also to understand the body. And so he was one of the first people to be able to do that in the West at the time. I believe the Pope gave him the right to like exhume bodies and to do experiments with them and do autopsies. And I think at that time it was illegal. So we get these amazing drawings, which are great if you're an artist and you're wanting to study and you want to get really good with your anatomy and make sure your anatomy is on point. Artists have always gone back and looked at Leonardo's drawings. Artists have always gone back and looked at Leonardo's drawings because, like I said, maybe the detail is not that good on this web camera, but if you look them up, you'll see how incredibly accurate these are. And so not only did he contributed to the human wisdom of the human understanding of the body and the way that the body works. And he documented this in these incredible drawings, but he was also a painter, a sculptor. He was somebody who liked to just draw on his own. He would do these are almost like concept art type things, right? Like this character study of a young man in a costume. Like he's got sketches of his paintings here. Really, really beautiful work. And then, of course, machines. He was also an engineer, and so he did these little engines and these little things that he would make. I say little, but I mean, he made like a tank. He made these kind of like weapons. Again, he was kind of like a concept artist in a way. He was coming up with all sorts of stuff. Came up with a flying machine, right? He came up with like these freaking Batman wings. So he came up with the first version of a parachute like 500 years before the Wright brothers. I mean, the guy he had so much creativity in him. And that's a portrait of him right there. It's one of the only portraits of him. And yeah, he's a huge inspiration. So I've got a couple more, and I'm just going to kind of run through those real quick so I don't make this video too long. Another artist I love is Clive Barker. You can see Clive Barker's paintings here on the cover of this book here, which is actually the Thai version of Abarat. And so I'm trying to learn how to read Thai, and so I've bought some Thai books so that I can actually learn how to read. And yeah, so he's a writer, and he's also a painter. And I think I've covered him on this channel. But his paintings are very idyllic. You look at stuff like this, very beautifully done paintings, along with his writing. And I love the way that he mixes these two together, right? And I love the way it is that it's mixed together in this book. So this is like one of the main characters, and I guess she's surrounded by chickens. Like I said, I have both the English version and the Thai version. I can't really remember the context of the chickens, but you can see the level of creativity in his work. Again, he's another one of these figures like Da Vinci, like David Lynch, like the first Thai artist it is that we looked at, that he just opens himself to his creativity, and that is hugely inspiring. Um, to know, like, look at this. This is awesome, awesome, right? It almost looks like a children's book, and I believe it is a young adult book, and that's the way it is that he structures it. So yeah, look into him, Clive Barker. Awesome, awesome painter. Just a great storyteller overall. And then I'm going to run through just a couple more books. This is a book it is that I picked up. This is from Carl Jung. Carl Jung really changed my perception of what art is, right? I always thought that art was just it's something it is that you do for entertainment purposes. And it was from really looking at and analyzing the art that I loved and the artists that I loved, and also coming in contact with Carl Jung's work, that I realized that there was a deeper nature to art. And let me see if I can find some visuals in here. But what Carl Jung likes to talk about is he likes to talk about basically the structure of storytelling, the structure of, yeah, there's no visuals in there. The structure of storytelling is all based on archetypes, and the different archetypes it is that we have in stories. Those are basically archetypes of different variations of human beings. You have, for example, the king, the lover, the magician, and the warrior. And these are all almost like different, these are different dimensions of the human psyche. And so you can start with those four variations, and you can find that a lot of stories are basically charting the character arcs from one place to the next, and it's charting, say, a young man becoming a king and telling the story. So stories are basically maps of reality, but a map is not the territory. Territory and the map are two fundamental different things, and so we always have to write new stories. We have to create new things in order to continue to understand the territory, which is life itself, right? And I think Carl Jung does a really good job of describing the archetypes, the collective unconscious, and describing the creative process it is that the artist goes through. He has some really interesting thoughts on this, and I would highly suggest, if you're somebody who's into creativity or you're inspired by that sort of thing, to check out his writings on art, and I think you'll be really impressed. And I'm gonna do a series of videos for those that are interested, that's going to dive deep into Jung and dive deep into like some of his stuff that he talks about, like archetypes and story structure and stuff like that. So the last two I'm going to put here, I'm going to put these two for this week. This one is a Japanese writer, and if you're a fan of Philip K. Dick, then you're going to be a fan of Murakami. Murakami is, this is a book, Hard-Boiled Wonderland and the End of the World. I mean, to be completely honest with you, I don't even know how to explain this book. It is a very strange book. And if you like strange stuff, then this is something that you'll want to check out. If you like Philip K. Dick, you're going to like this guy. It'll make your head spin. This was the book that Steve Jobs gave to everyone at his funeral. If you went to Steve Jobs' funeral, then you got a book, and this was the book it is that you got. And this is a autobiography of this man named Yogananda, and he was a spiritual teacher, and it had a huge influence on Steve Jobs. And as we know, Steve Jobs was, again, he was another one of these people that had completely opened himself to creativity in general. And, he was most definitely a vessel for bringing in the technologies it is that he was able to bring in through Apple. And, nothing could be more apparent of how much of a role he played than how much Apple has changed since his passing, right? We really see how much of a visionary he really was. And so reading through a book like this that has inspired a great thinker like Steve Jobs, somebody who is very creative, I think is very helpful. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much my roundup of the stuff it is that's inspiring me right now. Like I said, if you're interested in checking out my comic, or you're interested in talking about any of these books, or you're interested in these kinds of ideas, you can check out some of the links in my description box. So if you want to check out the Philip K. Dick Files comic, there is a link in the bio to the Philip K. Dick Files, and you can come and check that out. I also have a link to my Discord channel where other creatives come together and we talk about these different ideas. We talk about our inspirations, what we're reading, what we're checking out at the time. And we like to draw and create things together. So if that's something it is that interests you, and you find any of this material on this website on this channel to be helpful, feel free to come and hang out. And thank you so much for watching, and take care.